It's time to talk about the new movie based on one of the most popular games of all time. Nope, not Super Mario Brothers. We'll get to that one. No, not Dungeons and Dragons either. We'll talk about that soon enough. No, of course I'm talking about Apple TV Plus's Tetris. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Apple TV Plus thriller movie called Tetris. Yes, this is a thriller. It is not based necessarily around the schematics of the game like I imagine Dungeons and Dragons will be, and like I know from the trailers the Super Mario Brothers movie is. This is about the rights for Tetris and trying to get a hold of them from Russia during the Cold War, which, sort of maybe sounds a little boring. Like, okay, the whole movie's about getting the rights to the game. And look, we'll get there. But if you have a subscription to Apple TV Plus, you can watch this for free right now. And speaking of subscriptions, you should consider subscribing to my channel, Dan Reviews It, right here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button down below there. Would love to have you aboard in that capacity. Or just like this video, comment on this video, all that stuff does help the channel out as well. And I even dress for the occasion today. I don't have a Tetris a Tetris shirt. I almost said Tetris TV show. Tetris shirt. I don't have one of those. But I figured, you know what? Nintendo is sort of a heavy hitter in this movie. So why not talk about one of the great early Nintendo games, Donkey Kong, which I guess was Atari too, which also plays in to this movie as well. So yeah, this is an interesting one because I didn't know what this movie was about. I don't like to watch trailers, and I sort of thought, how are they going to make a movie out of the game Tetris? But then I thought, well, all right, they tried that Battleship movie, and we've seen movies on lesser things, I guess. But no, this is it turns out to be a almost political thriller, really, because you're talking about trips to the Soviet Union to talk with these different people who have control of the game, and with Cold War restrictions and all of this kind of stuff. It gets pretty intense, and a lot of what happened apparently in this movie is fairly true to life. I'm not going to really go into a lot of the specifics because I think that will, get into spoiler territory. But most of, the first hour and a half of this movie, from what I understand, is fairly true to life in terms of sort of the rights of the game and the difference between PC gaming, the arcade version, the home version, the handheld version for the Game Boy. I'm old enough to remember that the Game Boy came with Tetris back in the day, and it was a huge hit. It brought the game, sort of into the stratosphere there. And there's a lot of sort of minutia with the differences there, and who holds these rights is another question that they go over in this movie. And it's interesting because it starts out sort of almost silly, and there are comedic moments in the movie, but we start out kind of with the Taron Egerton character, Hank Rogers, sort of narrating and giving us the play-by-play while giving us, the audience, the play-by-play, but really he's in, a meeting with an executive talking to them about, discovering this game or whatever. But us, the audience, we see, these kind of 8-bit graphics, and even, throughout the movie, there's scene changes that we see, a building in 8-bit, or we'll say, see the word, Tokyo or whatever in sort of this 8-bit font. And at first I thought, well, I don't know how I feel about this. Is it kind of cheesy? Is it kind of corny? But I'm not sure. Somewhere in, the maybe first 25, 30 minutes, it really kind of caught me. It wasn't overly used. Maybe I think that helps. But I think it actually helped break up the monotony a little bit of sort of the technical aspect of the movie. Because look, I don't know much about how that stuff works. And they get into, some really detail-oriented stuff about, what kind of language was this created in? Is it in C? Is it in whatever? All these computer languages that I don't really know much about. So I actually learned a lot from this movie, and afterwards I did kind of look at, okay, what was real in this movie and what isn't. And as we get into sort of the final third there, it definitely goes off the rails, and you could kind of tell, all right, well, this stuff probably didn't really happen. And sure enough, yeah, okay, they made up some characters in terms of I can't. I won't even get into it. But there's like a big car chase at one point, and it's like, all right, this part is clearly very Hollywoodized. But I have to say, this is a really gripping movie, and it's not anything that I expected. First, let me talk about Taron Egerton. This is one of the best young actors I think around. I say young because he's younger than me. He's in his early 30s, but I can't think of anybody else in recent memory really that burst onto the scene and had three just really, really great movies that all were completely different, and he just kills it in every single one. And I know, yeah, he's done some smaller movies too, like Eddie the Eagle and Robin Hood and stuff like that, but I'm talking, of course, about the Kingsman series, Rocket Man, Elton John. I mean, that was, what a great performance that was. I think he got snubbed at the Oscars with the nomination there. And then this movie, and he's got a wonderful American accent here, doesn't falter, and he's different in each one of those movies. And the Apple TV Plus series Blackbird, he's already part of the Apple family with that, and that is also another different character. I think his range is just crazy good, and he is excellent in this movie. I really am excited to see what the future holds for him. So that's, one aspect. I think, it could have maybe been a little bit more, I don't know if boring is the right word, but more routine, I think, maybe with perhaps another actor in that role. But he brings such life to it, and you really are rooting for him because he's sort of getting double crossed and stuff by different companies, and then the Russians don't believe that he actually has the rights to anything, and this and that. But yeah, so I think he kills it. One of the other people that you may recognize is Toby Jones, who he played Capote in a movie many years ago, but he always pops up in supporting roles here or there, but he's really good as well. And the Russian actors I'm not really familiar with, but they were all very good too. But really, it is the thriller aspect of this movie that caught me completely off guard, especially from sort of the intro where it was like a lot of 8-bit graphics and it was a little more fun, and it's kind of the mindset of the main character. Hank Rogers is at the beginning, he's all gung-ho about, hey, we're going to get the rights to this amazing new game I just heard of. Here's how we're going to go about that. And then as, he sees sort of all the obstacles in his way, we as the audience get to see that unfold, as more kind of thriller territory. I will say, when it kind of goes off the rails near the end, I do have to dock it, a slight point for that. It gets into the completely outrageous arena maybe once or twice. And it's played a little bit for comedy too. Yeah, there's, the thriller aspect is still there, but I think it maybe goes a little bit on the sillier end, maybe once or twice. And this was directed by John S. Baird, who I was not familiar with, and even after looking at things he's done, I still don't really know. He did this movie called Stan and Ollie, which I wanted to see about, Laurel and Hardy, which I had heard good things about, but I don't know much about it. And then it was written by Noah Pink, who I'm also unfamiliar with, but he had, a couple of festival movies or whatever. But so relative newcomers there, but Matthew Vaughn, who, I believe directed The Kingsman, he is one of the executive producers there, and clearly, he and Taron have this great, chemistry when they work together. This was a huge surprise movie for me. I really didn't know what to expect. I ended up really loving this thing. I leave Tetris with an A-. I almost gave it an A until sort of that last like 15 minutes when it went kind of real crazy. But thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed this movie as much as I did. We'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.